Alright, today's objective is using long division to divide polynomials. So last time we did just one term, so it's dividing by monomial. Dividing by polynomial is very similar to dividing by the long division. So the long division, if you put it in the long division form from a fraction, it's 157 will go underneath the division sign and then put the 12 on the outside. Just to recall from before that if you have 12, then you have to use 1 5 because there are two digits, you got to use two digits. 12 goes into 15 one time, so I'm going to put down 1 times 12. Now remember, how do you get to the 1? Well, we put down 1s because we are trying to get as close to 15 but without going over. What do you do when you have 15 and 12? Do you remember? We subtract. Now if we subtract, that gives me 37. Now most of the time we don't write it this way. You 5 minus the 2, 1 minus the 1. Check again. 12 goes into 37 how many times without going over? Well, in this case 12, 12, 12. 3 times. And that's 36. And then draw a line. You're subtracting the 7, you're subtracting the 3, so that gives you 1. And the answer is going to be 13, and you put the 1 on top and the 12, which is on the side, on the bottom. And that will be your answer. For example number 2, the step is going to be the same thing as the long division. We put it in the fraction. The first step, you should change this into the top goes inside, x squared plus 5x plus 7. So top goes inside and the bottom goes to the side. And that start to look like a long division. When you're looking at the long division for a polynomial, I would like you to think about it 3 things. You're going to decide. That's the same thing as deciding what number goes into your long division without going over. Then distribute. Remember, you take the 1 times the 12, you take the 3 times 12, there's distribute, and then you subtract your number, 15 minus 12. So we are going to do the same thing. Hello, the 3 things that I want you guys to think about is decide, distribute, and subtract. And the cool thing is, if you can remember, that's like going to the dentist, DDS. So first thing we're going to do is decide. Now, what do we use to decide? Because this is a little different than the numbers. So what you have here is you are going to look at your very first term. Now it's very important that you know the sign. One of them is x squared inside, and then you have x outside. So what you're going to ask yourself is x right here times what give you x squared? X times what give you x squared? X times x give you x squared. So now what you're going to do is you decide it. And after you decide, you are going to distribute. The x is what you're going to distribute to the x plus 2. That's why distribute property is so important. The x times x here, and that's going to give you x squared. Then you're going to do x times the 2, positive 2. That's going to be plus 2x. Then that's the distribute. Then what you're going to do is you are going to do the next letter thing, which is subtract. Everybody make mistake on is I want you to put the subtracting sign here. And then I want you guys to put it in a parenthesis. Now, I usually like to write it a parenthesis backwards just because that's the negative sign that tells me that negative sign is being distributed. Okay, so I put my negative sign and I'm going to put this. And that tells me I need to distribute. And then it's going to be x squared. Listen to what I'm saying. X squared minus x squared. X squared minus this x squared. Well, x squared minus x squared is gone. Nothing is left. We are going to have nothing there. Then the next step is going to be 5x. This is the 5x minus the positive 2x. So that's a 5x minus a positive 2. So it's actually 5 minus 2. So that's going to give you the 3x. Since we don't have anything else to subtract, we're going to bring down the next term. So that's plus 7. Now when you do the plus 7, I'm just drawing the arrow just in case. We are going to do it again once you bring that one term down. You always bring one term at a time down. So the next time I'm going to do deciding part. X times what give you 3x? X times a positive 3 give you 3x. Look at here. So I'm going to have positive 3 times x, positive 3 times positive 2. So now what you're going to have, positive 3 times the positive x. And that is going to give you a positive 3x. Positive 3 times a positive 2, that's going to give you a positive 6. The 3, positive 3 is a decide. Notice I distribute the positive 3 to x plus 2. Then now we are going to subtract. Again, when you subtract, you need to make sure you pick up and distribute. So minus 3x minus 3x, that's gone. 7 minus 6 is 1. That is how you do a long division problem. Write the answer. The answer is going to be the top. See that? The top is 13 on the side. The 13 is on the side. Now because we write this a little bit different, 13x plus 3 is the top where like the 13 is. Now if you look at the fraction, that's really just 13 plus 1 and 1 over 12. So we are going to put plus sign here. The 1 goes on top, x plus 2 goes on the bottom. And that is how you do the problem. That is the answer. For example number 3, you should be able to put the symbol in the proper location, the expressions at the proper place. X squared goes minus 17x plus 64 goes inside. X minus 5 goes outside. D, D, S, decide, distribute, subtract. So we are going to take a look at the very first term inside, x squared and the x. So now what times what give you x squared? In this case, x again. So distribute, we just decided. Distribute. X times x, it's x squared. Then you do x times negative 5. That's going to be negative 5x. And don't forget to subtract. And when you subtract, x squared minus x squared is done. But the next one is negative 17x minus a negative 5. So negative and negative right here, negative and negative right here gives you a positive. This is really negative 17x plus 5. Well, negative 17 plus 5 is going to give you negative 12x plus 64. So negative 17 minus a negative 5, which is negative 17x plus 5x. All right, now I'm going to erase the orange line. And then we are going to do the next turn decision. So when you decide on the next one is going to be negative 12x. So x times what give you negative 12x? In this case, negative 12. Negative 12 times x, negative 12x. Negative 12 times a negative 5, that's positive 60. Don't forget to subtract. Negative 12x minus a negative. Negative 12 minus a negative. So therefore, positive. Don't forget you have to make sure that sign 64 minus 64. Let me say it one more time. Negative 12x plus 64 would be something you left over from top. Then you need to multiply whatever gives you x, multiply something, give you negative 12x. So in this case, I multiply negative 12. Then when you distribute, that will be negative 12 times x, negative 12x. Negative 12, that's going to be 60. Once you do 60, you'll have negative 12x minus negative 12x. You'll have 64 minus a 60. Positive is going to be a negative. So 64 minus 60, that gives you 4. Answer will be x minus 12 plus, always plus because that's attaching the next fraction. 4 on the bottom goes on top, x minus 5. And that will be your answer. Example number 4. 7x squared plus 16x minus 15 have to be inside. Plus 16x, the division symbol, minus 15. And that's x plus 3 is outside. Then you look at the very first one. X times what give you 7x squared? Well, x times 7x give you 7x squared. Distribute. 7x times positive 3. That's plus 21x. Subtract. 7x squared minus 7x squared, gone. 16x minus 21x, negative 5x. Bring down the negative 15. X plus 3. Divide into negative 5x times 15. Well, x times what give you negative 5x? That's going to be a negative 5. X times negative 5 is going to be negative 5x. 3 times negative 5 is going to be negative 15. Notice if you do negative 5x minus negative 5x, that's 0. Negative 15 minus a negative 15, negative become positive. Let's be more obvious. Negative minus a negative 15. That's going to be negative become positive. So there's negative 15 plus 15, 0. So therefore, there's no division. So there is the answer. The answer is 7x minus 5. Example number 5, that's going to be 15x squared minus 22x plus 14 and 3x minus 2 on the outside. So now what you have to do is you need to decide 3x times what gives you 15x squared. Well, in this case, to decide, if you put down a 5x, 5x times 3x is going to be 15x squared. So there it is. I'm going to take that one off. And now we're going to do distribute property. 5x times 3x is going to be 15x squared. Then what you're going to do is you could distribute the second term. So it's going to be 5x minus times negative 2. 5x times negative 2 is going to be negative 10x. Then you're going to subtract. And when you subtract, it's going to be 15x squared minus 15x squared. And that's gone. Then the next one is negative 22x minus a negative 10x. That's going to be negative 12x plus 14. Bring it down the last term. What number times 3x gives you negative 12x? And that is going to be negative 4. And when you have negative 4 times 3x, it's going to be negative 12x. Negative times negative 2 is positive 8. And when you subtract, you'll have negative 12x minus a negative 12x. That's going to be 0. Then you have negative 14 minus a positive 8. That is going to be 6. And to write your answer, that will be 5x minus 4 plus 6 over 3x minus 2 will be your answer. Please try example number 6 and check back with your answer. The answer for example number 6 is 4x plus 3 plus 7 over 6x minus 1. Example number 7 is a little different, but the process is still the same. instead of doing the DDS twice, we are going to do it 3 times. So the rule is still the same. Put the top inside your division symbols, n to the third power plus 5n squared minus n minus 5. And that's n plus 1 on the outside. First, DDS. So decide n times what give you n to the third power? Well, n times n to the second power. Second D, distribute. N squared times n to the third. N squared times positive 1, positive n squared. Then what you're going to do is the third thing, DDS, subtract. N to the third minus n to the third, gone. Positive 5n squared minus n squared gives you 4n squared. Bring down one term because you have two terms here. Because you have two terms right here, you have to have two terms right here. By doing that, we are bringing down the n, and then taking a look the second DDS. The second DDS is n right here times what gives you 4n squared. So n times 4n squared is you're gonna need plus 4n. And then in this case, 4 times 4, positive 4n is positive 4n squared. And positive 4n times 1 is going to be positive 4n. And when you combine them, which is by subtracting, and that is going to be 4n squared minus 4n squared is gone. Negative n minus 4n, and that is going to be negative 5n. Then bring down the last negative 5. You bring down one term at a time. And then now you are going to try to do it again by saying your n times what gives you a negative 5n. And then in this case, I'm going to multiply by a negative 5. And that negative 5 is going to be, what you have to do is you are trying to get rid of the very first term. So right now what you're going to do is you're going to say n times negative 5 distribute property. That gives you negative 5n. And then you have negative 5 times a positive 1. And that's going to give you a negative 5. Oh, look, it's exactly the same. So negative 5n minus a negative 5, so that's negative 5n plus 5n, 0. Negative 5 minus a negative 5, that's plus 5. Negative 5 plus 5, that's 0. So your answer really is going to be n squared plus 4n minus 5. And that will be your answer. Let's do number 8 together. Number 8 has a little twist. So the little twist is if you look at it, the top polynomial is not in descending order. You need to put everything in descending order first. So what you're going to do is you are going to do 4k to the third plus 8k squared plus minus k. First, notice 6 and negative k. So if it is in descending order, you got to go k first. So you got to make sure that is the case. Okay? Things has to be in order, and plus 6. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do k plus 2 on the outside. Okay? Now I'm going to pause the video. You guys give it a try and see can you guys get the same answer as I do.